Reactor. So I'm going live today. My name is Kendra, and I'm introducing myself, and y'all know me as Zodiacs and reading books. So we reading Against Nature, Chapter 5. I forgot to put that up there, but I edited it. I was being led through the woods in a hung-over guilty haze. Every drinker is accustomed to mourning after shame. Usually I brush it off after my first coffee, but my behavior last night was weighing heavy. I've been waiting for her call, rushed off to answer it. Tore picked during a relationship in the process, and then I reverted to my jaded, cynical setting. Reaching for the bottle and spoken words of hurt, it didn't help that she seemed so able to forgive and move past it when we woke. Cass was sharing more about Victor Project and the powerful folks it may implicate. The ruler of the world of sports, it seems. Cass was incurious when it came to the games boy played on TV. But even she knew the bold faces being named. A capital of high trees offered a green canopy above us. Late morning light filtered through in rays like signs to a believer. A couple of hundred yards later, we emerged from the woods into rocks and a steep death drop over the face of the mountains. The view unfurled under a hard blue sky with farms and specks of towns and winding country roads spread across the valley. The Hudson River cut a slate gray swath through the sight line. Beyond it, a faint outline of another mountain range against the horizon. I glumped at bottled water, leaned over, tried to slow my breathing with hands on my knees. Sweat dripped from my face onto smooth rocks. I tasted last night's stale red on my tongue. Nice view, I said. How much farther? Few minutes, said Cass. Thank you. Think you can manage? Doubtful. She grabbed my water, took a squid, and bent backwards, hands on her slim hips. Gave a glimpse of midriff, belly button pierced with a silver hoop. She wore black jeans and a black scoop neck t-shirt and a loose black hoodie, unzipped. Hi. Cass caught me staring and pulled at her skirt. Then she strolled off down the trail with Philly at her heels and picked up her story. I straightened up, cursed them both, and tried to keep the pace. Upon waking in that crackled leather chair, I was informed that I'd be granted a second chance. A lot of unprocessed emotions flowing between us last night. Perhaps she'd been too quick to anger. I offer apologies of my own. She brewed us coffee, brought me Advil, showed she was the bigger person. She told me she explained on our walk. Victor had been hard at work on his overdue follow-up to the Walk Through Fire. A decade removed from publication, it seems the muse was smiling on him once more. Or to be less poetic and more accurate, he was freed from a bad marriage and was now with a better woman than he had any right to. It was enough to inspire a man. I guess the movie and the mailbox money from books sales was also run dry. Time to get back to work, and Victor was convinced he had a winner. He was calling it The Athlete, another sports-based book of narrative nonfiction. He told Cass it would elevate him to the ranks of Lauren and Buzz, his self-proclaimed competitors, writing who took their time. Y'all bear with me, y'all. Hangover. Between blockbusters and road stories that were translated into a A-list film. Walk Through Fire has been a classic of the form. So he said, so said the critics. Good morning, hey, Nicole. And so Victor agreed. Asked me, it was a superior adaptation that extended its relevance and made it a bit more than another dust off story of back in the day Trump. Bill was great in the film, or maybe it was another person. I couldn't remember one of those guys. The comeback book will be the story of Carl, formerly Kruger, Olympic thrower, a dope victim of the East German experiment. When a generation of female athletes was treated as guinea pigs in a program that sacrificed thousands of German girls for the greater glory of Olympia's success. According to Victor research, the focus was on the young women, not their male counterparts. These were the early days of doping, a frontier far removed from the perfect science of modern day cheating. Doctors and coaches went in search of big, strong, developing girls, and with their forced drug ring, they transformed them into sci-fi recreations, performance, enhanced machines of appropriate size and strength. The long-term effects were never contemplated. Who, for Hale, who already dealt with gender disorientation before the drugs, it hasn't a translation that would have been forbidden in that time and place. When Hale's body broke down from system injections and was forced into retirement, he was one of the lucky ones. He managed to defect, made it to New York City with a fellow East German, a female swimmer named Max. Hales chose gender reassignment surgery and merged a trans man named Carl. The couple wed and settled in Lower Manhattan, where they opened a bar called Kruger. When Cass shared all this with me, my first thought had been, how had I never heard of that place? I fancy myself a, person of downtown bars. Could there be a spot where I never lift a glass? Never even walked by in the registers? She said. Kruger was way down, off East Broadway, between the Williamsburg and Manhattan bridges, in a rare pocket of city still resisting gentrification. I look forward to stop by upon my return to town. Cass told me that Victor learned of Carl's story through a childhood friend, now a hotshot restaurant named Mickey Knight's. Wingate and Knights were buddies from the old neighborhood, in their case, Soho in the 70s, when the place was still a dangerous spot, community of artists and junkies and all upper places. Loaf rented for cheap. Loft rented for cheap. The writer interest was unique. He made a rare visit back to the city and introduced himself to the Krugers. Turned out there was more to the story, with scandals not long buried but still infesting the highest wait a minute, y'all. And this chapter long too. It's early in the morning, they calling me.
Hello.
Get it here.
What you talking on your phone or your iPad?
I'm on my phone because I'm on my live reading my book because I don't have no storage.
You on live reading?
On my other page. I'm gonna call you when I get finished. Okay. He made a rare visit back to the city and introduced himself to the Cougars. Turned out there was more to the story, with the scandal not long buried but still infecting the highest election of world sports. Icons implicated quarterbacks and basketball stars and Wheaties box champions. Wholesome, wholesome household name beyond suspicion. Victor started to dig into Wright. Cass said she had never seen a man more inspired. It was an attractive quality. However, in the weeks before his death, Victor began to behave strangely. He insisted he could no longer work from home. Instead, he drove off in the morning and set up his laptop in local coffee shops or libraries in nearby mountain towns. He blamed it on the difficulties focusing among the familiar in a place so long and idle a little work. He said he needed fresh settings to get the words flowing. But when he came home, there were signs of paranoia. Now the door was open, was being locked at night. The car keys removed from the ignition. This was a part of the country so safe that the neighbors seldom did either. He'd been on an anti-pressure since his attempt 6 years ago, and Cass asked if he was still taking them. He showed her a recently refilled bottle and insisted he was. She figured this was what it was like to live with a writer consumed. She had to admit she rather liked the other stuff, y'all. This book is long. But then Victor never returned from that walk, and he was found splattered and lifeless at the bottom of those folds. Despite his recent behavior, Cass never considered suicide for a moment. There had to be another explanation for the locked doors and new patterns. Someone must have learned of his reporting. Someone with a world to lose. Someone must have hunted him down and pushed him. She said she hadn't mentioned any of this to the authorities. Why should she trust them? They were probably fans of those famous jocks. They wouldn't want to believe what Victor was uncovering. Easier to go with the obvious, a once-depressed man who couldn't shake off the demons and jumped. If Cass wouldn't mention his work and his recent behavior, I could understand why they weren't taking her claims seriously. It seems like an erratic writer took the final plunge and his special lady friend could not accept the awful truth of it. It's not for the encounter with Oliver in the city. I'm not sure I would have believed her either. I still hadn't mentioned that. I heard the sound of rushing water up ahead. Philly bound back towards us. We came to a clearing at the top of the high, gushing waterfall. Cass frowned, walked to the edge, and peered over. When she looked up, her eyes were wet and troubled. Her body, forever a hard instrument of lust and power, looked shrunken and on itself. She wiped at her eyes and looked back over the fold. This is where he went over, she said. I moved towards the edge, stopped a few feet away in a rush of vertigo. I backed off and set my hand on a wet rock. I took in the view, the falls, the rock formation, the birds of prey that circled above. The entire setting felt almost holy, like a place where promises and confessions were made and sins forgiven. Victor used to hike here almost every day, she said. He brought his bourbon and sat on the rocks and sipped it after he finished his writing. She turned to me. They called this spot All Creation Point. I swayed my arms across the view. All creation, lad. Cass gave me a quizzical look. Natty Bumpy, I said. James Cooper's character. That's his line, Dearest Lear, the last of the Mohicans. I used to love those books as a kid. They were set up in these parts. She frowned. Her eyes gave a sad smile. You and Victor would have really liked each other, she said. We let that settle. It was difficult to believe that I had anything but bitterness towards any man sleeping with my past. My poor deluded fool. Just because you both almost died for each other, has there been has there ever been so much as a kiss, even lingering eyes contact and a pause that said she might be considering something more than friendship? Well, no, Your Honor, but I always thought, is there anything more pathetic than the platonic sap that holds out endless hope? So, what do you think happened? I asked. Someone pushed him over, she said. A matter of fact, he couldn't have fallen. She exhaled with impatience. Duck, I told you, he hiked here all the time. He knew every stone out here. There's no way he just fell. Maybe something spooked him like a bear or something. Are there bears in these parts? There are, and nothing surprised him. And he couldn't have jumped. I took a step closer to the edge, tried to pierce down and gauge the height. My head spun with another rush of vertigo. It was a long way down, enough to put anyone out of the game. Hell, a hell of a dramatic place to check out. I told you, I never seen anyone as inspired as Victor. I'm almost finished, y'all. Girl, if you see somebody blocking, I ain't worrying about them people. Somebody gotta read the Bible. Y'all, that's why I gotta go live because I'm gonna make you a Let me go on my other phone, y'all, and make my girl Nicole a moderator because I don't got time for this. Y'all in my chat. I'm not in y'all chat. Wait a minute, Nicole, make you a moderator. I'm reading this book just trying to understand it just like y'all is. This is my first time ever reading this book. Let me see. And I'm trying to make out of it too. Why not? I'm about to not read this book and find another book to read because this book is very confusing. Wait a minute, Nicole. No, you changed your smoke detectors, boy. Girl, whatever your name is. You're a moderator, Nicole. Now, if you see somebody acting stupid, block their asses. I'm almost finished, y'all. Like I said, I'm reading this book just like y'all, so I ain't never read this book in my life. But to put contents on this page right here, I'm going to read because I don't have no storage in my thing. Now, if you don't like it, get the hell out the room. Simple as that. Don't make it come out. I'm already lit. Now I'm about to smoke me a cigarette. How you like me? How many pages I got? I'm trying to understand this crazy book too. Let me put this out because I'm gonna be winded and out of breath. Y'all want to puff? Oops. Do you want to puff? Don't make the crazy come out because it can. Nicole, you better tell them. I don't even know these people. You better tell them who I am. Okay, the story called Kruger. It was consuming. It was consuming him. He was anything but suicidal. There was something closing in on him. Something that had him terrified. And we were, her voice caught. We were happy duck. He could not have jumped. But he tried before, I said. He tried before because he was depressed and in a shit merge with an awful woman and hadn't written a word in years, she said. If you had any doubt about what I'm telling you, then go back now. No one else would believe me either. She turned and headed back towards the trailhead. Come on, Philly, she called. Cass, hang on. I believe you, I said. And there's something I haven't told you. She stopped. Tell me, she said, her back to me. I don't think he killed himself either, I said. I think you're right. Someone probably pushed them. She turned, a threatening energy pulsing off her. Why? She asked. Before I left, I said, I received a warning from a guy in a Hell's Kitchen bar. We had an altercation. He knew I was coming to see you. He told me that we should be careful and that some things aren't worth it. Cass inhaled through her nose. She placed a hand on a trunk tree to steady herself. She looked at me with those black eyes, processing my withheld information like a cop who finally getting his confession. You telling me this now? She asked. Cass, last night it got ugly fast, I reminded her. This morning I was surprised you were willing to forgive me, that you still wanted me around. Then we were off hiking and you were doing all that talking. I glanced back towards the roof, unable to face her. A hawk plunged down past the waterfall on the hunt. Ended the life of some small woodland animal. I'm telling you now, I said. Who was he? Some punk. His boss was waiting outside. I didn't get his name. Describe them, she said. The guy I talked to called himself Oliver. Some kind of accent, German, I think. Shaved head, fit about 30. He had tight sleeves down both arms. I noticed some racist ink, an iron cross, and the number 1488 across his knuckles. That's prison sibling. White supremacist, jargon. He must have done some time. And the guy outside. She was entering into the eerie calm zone of contained range. I remembered it well. It must have thrilled and terrified many a slave in her dungeon. Her stillness, the slowing of her breathing, the way her chest seemed to rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. It chilled me and made me move further from the edge. He was tall and trim, I said, older, maybe 50, wearing a suit and, tie and stuff like that. Tell me about your entire exchange. The younger guy, Oliver, walked in and came down the bar. He stopped by my booth and called me by my name. I said, he slid in next to us, started acting ugly. Then he gave his warning and left. I regretted the first person plural as soon as I said it, us. Just some prostitute I was sitting with. Nice stuff. You had time to pay for some head after that. We were just talking. I'm sorry I didn't tell you right away. That's it. Last page. Hey y'all. My name is Kendra. Y'all, this book is long. I'm learning this book just like I'm reading it to y'all. So just bear with me, y'all. That's it, I lied. Look, I haven't heard from you in ages. Then you get in touch late night and ask for my help. Now I'm up here in the woods talking about your fallen lover. Come on, Cass. I know you're hurting, but can you stop giving me a hard time? Her look stung more than any whip could. She turned and walked back through the woods towards the house. Philly tossed her head in her master's direction and gave a quick bark. I followed her command. Walking back, I tried to picture Victor Wingate and his daily routine before something spooked him out of the house and caused him to start locking doors. Waking next to Cass was their sex first thing each morning. The normal kind, or the kind Cass liked. Their obvious connection came together, and I felt kind of courage, relief. It wasn't about physical attraction, at least not for her. It was about finding a partner who shared her Pacific, kinky tastes. Maybe Victor was an eager slave that she would whip for free, or at least for free lodging. Then what? After a morning session, would they slip into a domestic routine? The writer at his desk, tapping away at the keys, sipping his coffee while while his lady cluttered about the house, took out the dog, planned their lunch, then shared a midday feast, followed by the ritual whiskey and his walk in the woods, a chance to turn over that morning's sentences in his mind, do some mental editing, work out what came next, and when he returned, would Cass be waiting in the leather, ready to tie him up and administer the pain that filled them both with pleasure? I watched her hiking up ahead, the way her legs and ass flex in her jeans with each stride. Wish my tastes weren't so vanilla. When we emerged from the woods and saw the house up ahead, I noticed another car in the driveway. Cass tensed at the sight of it. It was a yellow Volvo sedan, a few decades old, with weather rust along the wheel's arcs. Next to it stood a weathering woman in a long tan coat and a wide brimmed hat. Her body was full and curved, country breed, and fit into the environment as if she'd been painted there. Tangled brown hair spilled from under the hat and down her coat. She saw Cass and me and moved toward us with huffed shoulders. Fuck, said Cass. Then to me, don't say anything, okay? We were within 10 yards of each other. The woman raised an arm and pointed. Bitch, she shouted. You don't waste any time, do you? Hello, Susie, said Cass. This is my friend Duck. Then to me, Duck, this is Victor's sister. I hung behind a few paces, the bad energy coursing between the two women. How was she? Asked the woman named Susie. How was this slut? I realized she was talking to me. Look to Cass for some guidance. Duck and I are old friends and business partners, Susie, she said. He's visiting from the city. Hey, I asked you a question, Dick or Duck or whatever your name is. How was this whore? How much you pay her? Susie, what are you doing here? She eyed Cass with an aggression I thought would turn physical. I'm here, whore, because this is my property. Victor left this place to me, which means you're trespassing, which means it's time for you and your friend to get the fuck out of here. Hold up, Susie, she said. I haven't heard anything about this. If that's the case, could you give me some time to pack my things? I don't have to give you anything, she said. I want you off my property. I'll throw your shit in the street when I feel like it. Sound like me. Oops. Susie, I know we're both grieving. Please, if you just... Mickey Knight told me this place is mine, along with everything in it, she said. He was the executive of my brother's will. If you have a problem with it, call him. She just asked him to gather her belongings, I said. I'm sorry for your loss, but let's be decent here. The sister eyed me with contempt. Old partner, huh? She asked. What were you here, pimp? Hold up. What? Were you her pimp at that kinky house of horrors? I'm going to suggest you stop calling my friend names, I said. Oh, yeah, or what? Duck, said Cass, please. Or I'll come up with some names of my own, like white trash bitch, I said. The words found her mark, and Susie seemed to go rapid upon hearing them. She let out a grunt and groan. Her eyes blazed with rage. Motherfucker, she snarled. She launched at me. Cass stepped into her path and sent her tumbling onto the grass. Susie scrambled to her knees. She eyed us like a kicked dog, her coat whipping back behind her. I'm calling the cops, she said. Assault and trespassing? I have you in jail. Cass grabbed my shirt and pulled me towards her car. Let's go, she said. I'll deal with her later. And that's it for chapter 5, y'all. And I might come live tomorrow with chapter 6, y'all. So thank y'all for this new audience. We reading this book together, Against Nature by Cassie Barrett. So bear with me. If you like what you like, please subscribe. If you don't, hit the bricks. Bye, my reactors.